I want to thank you for joining me again. What I'd like to do today is talk a little bit more about database design and talk about how the entity relationship diagram can help to cement the understanding that you have between you and the enterprise and the users so that you can design the database in a way that the users recognize and can actually use. Database design really does require a significant amount of understanding of the data. And we talked last video about making sure we could understand the data thoroughly. But the second level of that is making sure that you have a common understanding between your users in the enterprise and how the enterprise wants to see the data and do their analytics and do their business reporting from it. So and one thing that enables you to do that is a thing called the entity relationship diagram. So what I'd like to do is go through a few of the examples of what an entity relationship diagram can do. And this first example on the screen, we've got a staff entity on the left-hand side, and we have a branch entity on the right-hand side. Well, you see in the diagram that staffs manage the branches, and that branches have staff. So there's a relationship between both of these that go either direction. The branch and staff members together register clients. So in our second small diagram that we see off to the right, the client then states their preferences when they get registered with their particular branch. And this is about buying houses in this dream house scenario. In the third diagram that we're showing here, a client generally holds a lease, and the leaseholder has property. So the property entity, property for rent, is leased by a leaseholder. And then we can get down to this bottom thing where you actually see the property for rent entity. And you see that there's several entities that could be working together and cooperating with that. For example, the business owner may own a property, or a private owner may own a property. In any case, both of them have the same type of relationship in that it's an ownership type of relationship. And then you have over on the left-hand side of that diagram, you see that the newspaper, of course, can advertise the properties for various reasons, of course, for sale or for rent or for doing those type of things. So if you're looking at that dream house example, you see that all of these relationships can exist when you look at the patterns of the data, and making sure that if you're working with the dream house people and what they want in their database, you need to understand how they relate to the data. Now, if we look then at the bookstore, let's look at that bookstore example again and bring it back to life here. We have that inventory list that was the master spreadsheet of all of the data that they were keeping on this big master spreadsheet. And we could easily see that this bookstore has books. And the bookstore, in having books, each book has a description. Each book also has a publisher and published year and format. So you see the entity itself will have many different elements. But you also see that there are series, and those series may apply to several books. So you would want to break out the series and say that a book may be in a series. You also would probably have the authors separated out into different ones, because an author can write several books. So an author writes books. And so on and on it goes. You break down the data and understand it. And by doing so, you can then create this relationship diagram that helps you bring understanding to your customers. Now notice, this is really a lot in English words. It's a lot in terminology that is easy for a client to understand. They don't need to understand database design to understand that their data is being laid out in a way that shows how they're related to one another. And it's a great way to be able to present the data to the client and make sure that you understand and that the client understands how this database is going to be put together. So if you like what you see here, go ahead and give me a comment or two. I'll try to answer those comments as they come in. And be sure to subscribe. Subscribing's free, and YouTube will let you know when I post my next videos. See you again next time.